All right, what's up everyone? I wanted to do a quick video and go over all the costs so far that I've incurred in this company. So as you know, I've spent a lot of money thus far and trying to start this company. It has not been cheap. So I wanted to go through exactly what's been spent so you guys can see exactly, basically what's been done. So let's get started. So the first thing that had to be done was I needed to form the company. So I needed to form Reflect Earth LLC. So I went to Rocket Lawyer, and in Rocket Lawyer, I formed the LLC. I used them as a registered agent and all of that. And through that, I could have done it myself, but I wanted the peace of mind and I wanted to use them so that all of my mail and tax correspondence and all that stuff went to them. So that ended up costing me roughly $339. So that was the first expense. Then I went and needed to secure reflectearth.com, reflectearth.net, and reflectearth.org. Now I did .net and .org just for further iterations of Reflect Earth down the line. I knew that down the line I wanted there to be some form of charity or some form of giving back to the community side of Reflect Earth. So I knew that I wanted to have a .org to it. I knew that there could be people down the line that would try and direct traffic to a reflectearth.net. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure I had that domain name so that way there can be no one trying to skim off of traffic. So I went ahead and locked up all three of those. So that cost was actually $29.97. So once I locked up those two, I then wanted to go ahead and trademark the name Reflect Earth. So that way no other companies could use that name. So I could have went and possibly went and filled out the trademark application myself and did everything myself, but I wanted to make sure I did everything correctly and didn't make any mistakes because I could have filled it all out myself and it could have been filled out incorrectly and I would have lost all that money and I would have had to try it again, and I would have rather just been safe instead of sorry. So I hired an attorney and had them fill out the trademark request. So I actually trademarked the name Reflect Earth, and I also trademarked my current logo. Even though the logo can change, I wanted to go ahead and lock in the current logo I have now. So by trademarking the name Reflect Earth and trademarking the logo, that cost me $2,500. So the next cost that I had was the design cost. So the design cost, as you know, is basically I had an idea in my head of what I wanted to make and I needed it to be put basically into design files. I needed to have it go from idea to something that I could send to the manufacturer and say, this is what I wanted. So I had to find that company in Atlanta and say, hey, I have this idea for this container and this is what I wanted to do and these are the functions that I wanted to have and can you help me design it so that I can send this to a manufacturer. And although it's a small container and it's something that you would think like, oh, you know, this is just really simple and it's not that big, like how can it cost that much? Like, it's small, but it takes a lot of time because it's a lot of details that go into it. Like it has to have a certain shape, it has to have certain sizes, it has to have certain functionality to it. So all of those little minute details actually take time to think in detail about. So because of all the time it took, and remember, like this is something that has to be biodegradable, compostable, and all of these other things, microwavable, freezable. So it has to be made of special materials, and these special materials have certain requirements when it comes to manufacturing. So there's certain things that can be done in manufacturing, and there's certain things that can't be done in manufacturing. So that requires certain ways that tools can go in when it's being manufactured. So sometimes I want the lip to be a certain way or a certain shape, and it can't be done because the tool can't go in a certain way. So that changes the way you do it. So there's a lot of back and forth between myself and the engineers that were designing the product. And anytime there's back and forth, there's engineering cost because that's taking more time and they're paid per hour. So that increases the design cost. So Although it's a small container and you would think like, why does it cost so much to necessarily do? That's the reason why. So the actual design cost for this product was $5,360.90. So once I got the design cost, I then wanted to go ahead and try and patent the actual design. I spent all this time trying to get the design. I don't want some other company to knock me off. So then I want to go ahead and try and get the actual patent for this. So I went to the same attorney that filed the trademark application and stuff for me, and went ahead and asked him to go ahead and file the patent for this. So with the patent, there are all of the drawings that I sent him, but they can't use the necessary CAD files. There actually has to be someone that handwrites these. It's ridiculous. It's like we're still 100 years back in time where we're still hand drawing these stupid patents, but there's an actual person that hand draws these patents. So there's the actual attorney fees where the attorneys are getting they're billing you per hour for actually typing up and drafting the patents. And there's an actual patent that was filed designed for the lid. The actual locking mechanism on the lid was a design patent. And then there's a utility patent that was filed for the whole container itself. And so with the patents combined with the actual paying the drawer that actually had to hand draw the container, all of that together, that patent cost was $7,890 for that. So as you can see, this is really starting to add up. So with all of that added up, I then had to pay for international trademark cost. So once you file your trademark here domestically, you then have a certain amount of time frame before you have to file internationally. And if you file within that certain time frame, it's backdated to the time you initially filed here domestically. So if you don't, then it's basically whatever day you file is the day you file. But if you file within that, I think it's 6 months, then it's backdated to the original day you filed domestically. So I wanted to make sure I filed so that it was backdated, because what could happen is if I didn't, someone could backdoor me and they could file for a reflector trademark in one of these other big countries, and I could basically be screwed in those other countries, and I could try and sell my product there and they could say, no, I have a trademark for reflector in that country, and I'm basically, screwed on my own company. So I wanted to go ahead and file for trademarks there. Now, this is where it gets to be kind of expensive, and I didn't even file in every single country, right? Because then it's ridiculously expensive. They have what's called a Madrid application. A Madrid application is where there's a bunch of countries to where they all fall under one umbrella, and each country falls under one application, but they're all fees for each country still. But you can submit one application and it falls, and you can submit one and then each one has a fee. So what I did was I applied for, hopefully I'm listing every country here, but I basically applied for Canada, the EU, which is a bunch of countries under the EU. I applied for China, India, Thailand, and Australia. And I did the Madrid application, and that was $3,000 for that, and then the attorney fees on top of that. So the international trademark application with all the fees and everything added was $3,824.79. So that was that. All right. The last cost is the mold cost. The mold cost is by far the most expensive cost thus far, but it's the most vital cost. It's the cost that is necessary to get the actual product made. If I want 20,000 units of my product now, they can now do them with these molds, where they couldn't have in the past because they didn't have actual templates or layouts of my product in the past. So these were actual molds now that they can use to make my product. So I had to get these molds made in order for them to even make my product. So this was extremely important, or none of this could ever be made. So the mold cost was the most expensive, and this was $19,995.17. So that's all the money that I've spent thus far. So that brings us to a grand total now of $39,939.83. So yes, I've spent almost $40,000 and I haven't even made a single thing yet. So as you can see, it's super expensive to get started. Now, not all businesses require $40,000 to even get started before you make a single product. But this company, it did, just because it required patents, trademarks, things like that. A lot of preliminary legal work to get going. This is a long-term, big company, in my opinion, something that I'm getting started. I've already thought of the next product that's going to be happening for this company. So there's going to be a lot of products in the pipeline for this thing. This isn't just food containers or things like that. This is going to be a big company. It's not going to be just a small business. There's going to be other things that I'm going to do with it. So yes, it's a lot of upfront costs. There's a lot of, of course, there's a lot of big risk involved, a lot of things like that. And yes, it's scary to spend $40,000 up front. Of course, there's a lot of fear of failures and things like that in the beginning. But sometimes you have to take risk in order to succeed in life. And sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And sometimes you have to put yourself out there. And that's what I'm doing. And sometimes you have to feel a little bit uncomfortable in order to get anywhere in life. And for once, I feel a little uncomfortable, and I feel a little bit like, all right, I'm on edge, and now I've got to do something with it. And I'm super excited to see where this goes, and I'm more motivated than ever. And I'm so excited to take this company to the next level. And I'm so excited to show you where we're going to go. And I'm so excited to get this Kickstarter campaign rolling. And I'm thankful for everyone's support. Thank you guys so much for watching. It would really help me out if you please subscribe to my videos. Also, please go follow me on Instagram _ReflectEarth. And then if you would, please follow me on Facebook, Reflect Earth.